Communication has been called the glue that holds society together. But communicating effectively on paper, publishing reports, newsletters, forms, and so on, can be an involved, costly, and frustrating process. And it is often ineffective. Now a new idea is changing all that. It keeps communicators from getting stuck in their own glue. Desktop publishing, connecting Apple Computer's versatile Macintosh, PostScript-based laser writers, and innovative software to make it possible for just about anyone to create a wide variety of documents with a typeset look. It's changing the way people communicate, pumping new vigor into the personal computing industry, and in the view of many, it's nothing short of a revolution. Tim Baharan, computer industry analyst and a close observer of the desktop publishing market.
We have not seen this much of interest generated since the early days of the spreadsheets when they penetrated the PCs and started to get the PCs selling back in the late 70s. We believe that if you just take the software and peripherals, this year alone, that this market is going to be around 283 million in 1986, growing to about 1.1 billion in 1990. The level of interest is extremely high at every size of the market, whether it be the small organizations that have never looked at it before, all the way to the corporate pubs who have been spending a lot of money going out to typesetters.
Remember the VisiCalc phenomenon of the 1970s? The concept of desktop publishing is creating the same kind of excitement in the personal computing industry, and for the same reason, the huge potential market. In-house publishing, service companies, educational institutions, and government all are likely users of Apple desktop publishing. The advantages are easy to see. Desktop publishers take control of the creative process, producing their own documents with a flexibility unknown before and saving time and money in the bargain.
When you can output a document that has the same apparent quality as that which took us weeks to do before in 1 or 2 days, people are really astounded.
The ability to generate high-quality typography in the house very quickly is invaluable.
People are enthusiastic about desktop publishing for good reasons. It saves time and money, and it lets them control the publishing process.
It gives you a feeling of amazing power to what you can do now by flicking a button. People have to go to school for years to learn to do.
Communication begins with an idea. Getting from there to a finished product can be frustrating. Before desktop publishing, there were only 2 ways to go. Settle for the rather ordinary look of typewriter quality, or pay the cost and take the time to produce typeset documents. For a more polished look, typing the text is only the beginning. What will the finished product look like? Someone has to decide, so a sketch of the finished page, called the layout, might be drawn. The sketches are created by a graphic artist working with or contracted by the author. This layout design, which can be quite elaborate, dictates the style, relative type size, graphics, and arrangement of the document. It is at this point that commitments of time and money really begin, and the process becomes increasingly inflexible. Generally, the text or body copy is not included in the layout, but its position is indicated with lines or with nonsense words. This mocked-up body copy is called Greek, and Greek is just what a layout is to many people.
Before, all they saw were little stripes, on the layout that were supposed to indicate type, but very few clients can make that conceptual leap and understand, well, what is this really going to say?
Before the copy goes to the typesetter, it must be carefully marked with instructions and specifications in a language and measuring system unique to the trade. The basic unit of linear measurement for type is the pica, 1/6 of an inch. In this language, type is never measured in inches. Type height is specified in points. There are 72 points to the inch. The typesetter will also need to know what typeface to use and in what style, bold, italic, and so on. The spacing between lines, called leading, is also variable, and specific instructions are made to the typesetter. Like type size, leading is measured in points. Other specifications include whether type is to be justified, flush left or right, ragged left or ragged right. When the copy has been marked with all the specifications, it is sent off to a typesetting service. In some cities, messenger services may be fast, but even the fastest couriers may still seem slow when a deadline looms. Setting the type often means retyping by a trained operator who inserts control codes into the text, translating the author's instructions into the language of the typesetting machine. Authors who are unfamiliar with these specifications may just send their copy off with a few notes and trust the typesetter to make the decisions for them, giving up more control over the look of the finished document. The typesetting machine follows the coded instructions and produces finished copy through a photographic process. The machine uses expensive light-sensitive paper, which, like photographic film, must be developed before the image can be seen. The paper is fed through a chemical bath to produce what is now called a galley. The galley is sent back to the graphic artist. And a photocopy, called a galley proof, is returned to the author to be checked for errors.
Typographers that you're working with make errors, as we all do. Everyone makes errors. Everyone makes mistakes. How do you deal with that when you're on a tight time schedule and you need final text ready to drop into your document, and you've just discovered that there's a typo, or there's some other problem with the text? You've got to send it back. They're under load. They can't instantly respond, and if they do, they're going to charge you some money for it.
Galleys are reviewed for errors and changes. Corrections and any new copy are sent back to the typesetter, who returns to his keyboard to prepare the new version. Meanwhile, illustrations are drawn, or clip art, ready-made drawings, are selected. Illustrations and graphics are also subject to time and money-consuming approval cycles and changes. The finished illustrations are sized to fit the layout design and set out to be photographically reduced. This is a relatively simple step, but it requires a process camera, an operator, darkroom, photographic paper, chemicals, and more time. When all the elements are finally ready, they are sent to a paste-up artist for assembly. Paste-up work requires precision tools and special materials in the hands of a skilled professional. The back of each element is coated with an adhesive. Hot wax is often used instead of more permanent adhesives so that the pieces can be peeled off and repositioned. Now the graphic artist places the elements on a pasteboard according to the layout design. This is the first time all the parts are actually brought together with headlines, body copy, ruled lines, borders, and illustrations. Large letters, called display type, are used for headlines or as elements of the page design. While some phototypesetters can create display type along with the text, these letters often have to be pasted in separately. Lines and borders highlight the text and give the page a well-ordered look. Tapes are available in various widths, and though they are easier and more flexible than inking with a pen and ruler, it still requires skill to keep the lines straight and ends square. A block of runaround text is set so that it will fit next to an illustration. The writer, designer, typesetter, and paste-up artist must work together to ensure that the words and pictures all fit the space allowed. Once the elements reach the paste-up artist, it's too late to make changes without spending more money and more time. When the paste-up, often called the mechanical, is ready, it's back to the author for approval. Now, finally, comes the moment of truth. Is it what you really wanted all along? Or would you like to change it, just a bit?
If we decided, once we saw the layout and the look of the piece, that maybe it would be nice to fiddle around with it a little bit, it became a cost and time consideration, and usually you just didn't bother.
After all the running back and forth with copy, galleys, artwork, notes, and messages, the mechanical is finally completed and sent to the printer. Getting from the writer's keyboard to the printing press is a long, complex, and expensive process, involving typing and sketching and couriers and retyping and machines and chemicals and reviews and cameras and glue and knives and cardboard and time and money. So why do people bother? when they could just use typewriters or word processors.
There's an enormous difference in the impact of a typeset document as opposed to a word processed and impact printed document. It has much more page power, much more presence, and it's a much more effective communication. There's no question about it.
But achieving a typeset look takes a lot of work, costs a lot of money, and involves a lot of people.
It's a craft to get this just right, and it takes time. Now, we just press a few buttons, and we literally can do exactly the same things ourselves, and we're not trained, and it comes out just right, lined up. The headline is as big or as small as we want. We can try some different typefaces and see which one we want for the subhead. We can see how to get just the right size boldface that we want. We discover some errors. We just go in and retype. Cut and paste on the screen. There's no lining up. There's no taking the X-Acto knife and cutting. No glue to use. We don't even need a paste-up board like that. The whole paste-up is on the screen.
Flexibility, speed, control, and cost-effective too. Desktop publishing makes good business sense.
For an example, we have an emergency telephone directory that we must publish in order to get into the hands of all our people. If any emergency takes place, we have to know where they are. When we were having this done on the outside, this was a laborious process of having it produced in this size, and it cost us not very much, come right down to it, maybe $1,200, $1,500 to have the number of issues printed that we wanted. As soon as we had changed it over to the Macintosh, what we were able to do is produce the same book for $300 or $400, have it turned around quickly, and now we can reissue it anytime we want to, as people change, as situations change, new telephone numbers and other facilities. It is a tremendous advantage over the old way, and we save the money in the process.
Now that they've discovered the advantages of desktop publishing, Apple's customers say they will never go back.
I can't even dream of the idea of having people retype and reassemble type and text, either for our own proposals or documents as an administrative task, or to prepare typography and text by marking up hard copy. It's just something that's not real. It can't make sense today. The economics of running it as an organization, a service organization, just don't provide for it anymore. It's a past method of doing business.
If this goes away, we go back to the kind of turnaround times, the kind of costs that we had before, and of course, our management wouldn't stand for that any longer.
Apple's desktop publishing, for high-quality, persuasive communication with real impact, for control over cost, time, and quality, for the best solution, from a company with solid support and a strong commitment to the market, Apple is the answer.